most mythical creatures from old Irish legends are that of the fairy folk. While some may take human-like forms, they were never previously human, and were not of our realm. However, there are a few creatures of legend where they first lived human lives, and usually tragic lives, before later becoming something else, and something to be feared. Such is the story of the Dearg Due, the Red Bloodsucker, a legend of an Irish vampire which some believe may have had influence on a young Bram Stoker long before he wrote Dracula. The Dearg Due was born human, her real name lost to the passing of time, and as she grew, tales would soon spread throughout Ireland of her beauty. Many men would travel the length and breadth of the island to attempt to court her. However, she had already fallen in love with a local man. According to the stories, he was a good, decent man who loved her in return. By all accounts, it would have been a perfect match, except this man was a peasant. For he had no lands, no titles, and no money. Her father would not permit them to marry, for how could such a poor man create a secure future for his daughter? Instead, he arranged for her to marry an older man, a man of station, of power, a man who could not only secure the girl's future, but offered land and riches to her father as dowry, which would secure his own future also. Against her wishes, the wedding was set, and she was soon off to live with her new husband. Considering his daughter to now be secure and financially sound, her father no longer concerned himself with her well-being, but only his own with his newfound wealth. As is the case with legends such as this, her new husband was not a good or decent man. He treated her like a possession, like something for him to play with, to abuse, and to keep as his own. He locked her away in a tower so that he could keep her beauty to himself, that his would be the only eyes that would ever set sight on her again. She tried to stay strong. She hoped her former lover might come and rescue her. But as the days turned to weeks, and the weeks turned to months, the toll of her situation became all too great. She lost all hope, and the only way to save herself that she could see would be to take her own life. Some stories say she hung herself, others that she somehow poisoned herself. Some say she simply stopped eating, until eventually she slowly died of starvation. Only one person is said to have mourned her death, her peasant lover. Her husband is said to have moved on and took another wife before her body even cooled in the grave. Her father still had the land and wealth he had gained when he married her off, and this had become all that was important to him. Burial and superstitious tradition at the time was to place a pile of stones on the graves of the recently departed, to prevent them from rising again. But perhaps the local townspeople felt guilty in this case. They knew the type of man she was married to. They knew she suffered, yet all turned a blind eye. Some say because of this guilt, and out of pity because she was such a kind, gentle person herself, no stones were piled on her grave. They felt she had suffered enough at the end of her life. She should just be left to rest in peace. What they did not know, however, was despite her kind, gentle nature before she was locked away. With her last breath, she cursed her father and her husband, and vowed vengeance on them, and that one day she would be reunited with her true love. And so, 1 year later, on the anniversary of her death, she arose from the grave with vengeance on her mind. First, she visited her father, and while he slept, she sucked the breath of life from his lungs. Next, she went to her former husband's home. There, she found him abusing and treating his new wife as he did her, and enraged, she attacked him and took not only his life's breath, but also sucked the blood from his veins. With this surge of fresh blood now flowing through her, she felt energized, strong. She felt powerful. She became drunk on the taste of blood and wanted more. So much that this newfound thirst consumed her, and any memory of her poor peasant lover was lost. So now, she is said to rise once a year on the anniversary of her death, a date which has also been forgotten as the years marched by. She lures young men away at night, mesmerizing them with her beauty, unknowingly being taken away to their death to quench her thirst for blood. It is said if you can find her grave and pile stones upon it while she rests, she will be unable to rise again so long as the stones remain in place. Legends say she was buried in a grave near an old tree called Strongbow's Tree. The location of this tree, however, is a mystery. It is said to have been near Reginald's Tower in Waterford City in Ireland. However, no such tree stands in that area today, nor do any graveyards. Perhaps the tree was cut down, and the old graveyard buried as time passed by and the city developed and grew around it. It may indeed already have concrete of the streets or foundations of a building covering it, serving in place of a pile of stones, keeping the Dearg Due trapped in her grave, thirsting for blood. Or maybe, as with legends being passed originally by word of mouth, through years and decades, the true location of her grave has been lost in the midst of time along with her real name. And the Dearg Due arises still once a year to feed and drink of fresh blood of some poor unfortunate soul.